Thank you. Please be seated. Good afternoon. My name is Jody Sanford, and I have the great privilege of being the Dean of the Evans School of Public Policy and Governance. To our graduates, family, friend, faculty, staff, and honored guests, welcome. To the Masters of Public Administration graduates, the Executive Masters of Public Administration graduates, the PhD program in Public Policy and Management, and our undergraduate major in Public Service and Policy, congratulations. So today is one of those rare moments in time when we get to stop. We get to pause. We get to look around and take in what has happened. So for those of you who are graduating, it can feel like a finish line. And in some ways it is. You've completed papers, exams, capstones, dissertations, internships, problem sets, group projects, late nights, hard conversations, and probably more time on Canvas than any human should have to endure. But today is also a threshold. It's a day to reflect on what you've done and to have compassion for the journey ahead. At the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country, you are graduating into a world that is full of needs, of possibilities, but of also real uncertainties. We're living through a time when some of the basic elements of public life are being altered. The relationship between institutions and citizens, between government and information, between work and place, community and technology, between authoritarianism and democracy, between friendship and disagreement. In fact, during the years that many of you have been studying, the world has changed very quickly. Generative AI moved from a curiosity to a force reshaping work, knowledge, and organizational life. Hybrid work has changed how people learn, lead, mentor, and belong. Wars and violence have reminded us that peace is not a permanent condition, and political polarization has stressed families, stressed workforces, altered public agencies, and strained neighborhoods. And the labor market that many of you are entering is not the same as you imagined when you began. In the last 2 years, I've shared meals with Evans alumni who have been living through the consequences of those changes. A leader who ran the USAID program in Africa and is no longer doesn't have a job. A research scientist at NOAA, shocked by the disinvestments in data systems designed to help us manage climate change. And a county commissioner who recounted details of federal contracts that she was being pushed to sign. But in each case, those leaders were not passive. They were thinking strategically, acting intentionally about how they could use their knowledge and expertise to ensure that public values are defended. We're doing the same thing here at the Evans School, reinvesting in commitments to freedom of speech, in research that centers the public impact, in transformational learning experiences in these educational programs that you've experienced. So today, I'm not going to offer you easy reassurance. You're too smart for that. You came to the Evans School because you care about public problems, and public problems are rarely easy. But I do want to offer you confidence. Not confidence that everything is going to work out on its own, not confidence that institutions will automatically hold, or that good evidence will always win, or that everybody will suddenly decide to act civilly to each other and listen carefully. I mean confidence in the capabilities we have and that you have built here. At the Evans School, you've learned how to analyze complex problems. You've studied public institutions and the way they actually operate. You've learned how to budget, analyze laws, data, How do organizations, politics, communities actually shape what's possible? You've learned to ask better questions. You've learned that evidence matters, but also that evidence does not implement itself. You've practiced making compelling arguments, and you've learned that public service requires skill, humility, persistence, and care. And I hope you've seen something else here as well, what it feels like for a public institution to act in a trustworthy way and to care about the work it is carrying out. That matters, because public leadership in this moment is not simply about having the right answer. It's about helping people move through uncertainty without giving up on one another. I've come to believe that public universities have a distinct role to play in this moment. Universities are, of course, places where research is done and classes are taught, but they're also something more. At their best, public universities provide civic infrastructure. They are places where people can come together to understand complex issues, examine evidence, disagree respectfully, test ideas, and figure out sustainable ways forward. That role is especially important when forums for public debate and problem solving are under strain. It's essential if we are to promote civic health. As my colleague, collaborator, and your graduation speaker, Lieutenant Governor Denny Hecht, will likely highlight, civic health is not something that we can take for granted. Civic health is not just voter turnout. It's not just attending a meeting or joining a march or knowing your neighbors, although all of those things can matter. But civic health is the durable capacity of a society to govern itself, to negotiate conflict, sustain legitimate institutions, work across difference, and create enough trust and belonging that people can believe that public life is worth participating in. A civilly healthy society does not require consensus, but it does require that people can disagree without contempt. It requires institutions that are legitimate and adaptive. It requires public services, servants who understand the rules, budgets, programs, and that implementation choices are not technical matters. They are how people encounter the promise of democracy in daily life. And so that is where you come in. You're living here with a degree, but much, much more. With my professor hat on, I have 3 things I'd like you to remember about your experience at the Evans School. First, honor the responsibility that comes with your education. You are now among the people in this country and the world who've had the privilege of sustained study. You've been given time, tools, mentors, and a community in which to learn. That is a gift, but that is also an obligation. It can be tempting right now, especially, to be cynical, to cut out, to say the systems are too broken, politics are too toxic, problems are too large, institutions are too slow. And sometimes, honestly, those feelings are understandable. But while cynicism might make us feel sophisticated, it rarely builds anything. It also does not honor the investment you have made or the sacrifices that your families have made that have gotten you to this moment. So your responsibility is to fight against that cynicism. Your responsibility is to be useful. Useful with your analysis, with your judgment, with your ability to listen. Useful with your capacity to translate complexity into action. MPA students have just completed your capstones working as student consulting teams. One team assessed what would be involved in creating a physical campus on the city of Duval. Another was doing a deep dive into what happened to the Municipal League of King County and the lessons it has for this time. Undergraduate majors who are joining us for the first time worked with the city of Kenmore to improve traffic monitoring. These teams and all of you have just demonstrated a useful application of your skills. You show how systematic research and inquiry can find better solutions. So these examples point to the second thing I want you to remember. Most public problems can only be addressed when people work on them together. Sounds simple, but it's not. All of the most important challenges of our time cannot be solved alone. Housing affordability, climate adaptation, public health, peace, trustworthy institutions, the ethical use of generative artificial intelligence, the renewal of democratic institutions. These are collective challenges, and they require people who can analyze, convene, negotiate, implement, evaluate, and learn. They require people who can sit in rooms where nobody fully agrees, where the data are incomplete, where the history is painful, where the trade-offs are real, and where still something must be done. That's public leadership. And as we know, public leadership is not always glamorous. Often it looks like writing the memo that clarifies the options, or designing a meeting where people can finally hear one another, or building a spreadsheet that reveals an inequity, or staying with the implementation of a problem long after the announcement has faded. Public leadership looks like protecting the dignity of people who experience government not as an idea, but as a caseworker, a school, a permit, a bus route, a shelter, or a hearing. You have been educated for that kind of work by this amazing faculty at this amazing school. So the third thing I want you to remember is something that you know. By definition, leadership is not merely reproducing the systems we inherited. You're entering a world that needs institutions, but not people on institutional autopilot. It needs continuity, but also imagination. It needs people who understand existing systems well enough to improve them, and who can create space and time to build the systems we now need. That means you're going to need to keep learning. You'll need to surround yourself with people who share your sense of purpose. You'll also have to develop your own ways to stay awake in the world without being consumed by it. Because public work is long work. Equitable policy and practice is generational work. The goal is not to burn brightly for a year and then disappear. The goal is to build lives capable of sustained actions that build civic health. So keep space for friendship like the ones you've built here, for family, for reflection, for beauty, and for joy. The work ahead will require all of that. I know this is an uncertain time for those of you who are graduating. Some of you are excited, some of you are anxious, some of you may have a clear next step, some of you may still be figuring it out. All of that's allowed today. But wherever you go next, into public agencies, nonprofits, research, philanthropy, elected office, or into roles that do not even have names yet, carry the Evans School with you. Carry the habit of asking what evidence shows. Carry the discipline of understanding how institutions actually work. Carry the humility to know that communities have wisdom, and the courage to speak clearly, and the patience to implement. Carry the imagination to build something better, and carry the conviction that public life is not something that happens somewhere else by someone else. It is made every day by people who decide that common life is worth their effort. And you are those people. You are graduates of the Evans School, one of the highest regarded public policy schools in the country. You are public leaders. You are participants in the unfinished work of democracy. We are proud of you, and we cannot wait to see what you will do. Congratulations. It is my great honor and privilege to introduce to you our Lieutenant Governor of the State of Washington, Denny Heck.
Thank you, Dean Sanford. It is truly an honor to be here today. But first things first, congratulations. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Well done. Here's a thought. I have found that there are really very few things in life more rewarding, more fulfilling, more gratifying than having a goal, working your tail off to achieve it, and then having accomplished it. Congratulations again. So, bonus points. You've expanded your horizons in this process and your understanding of the world around you and how to make it better. More about that later. Oh, by the way, armed with a degree from inarguably one of the most prestigious public policy schools in America and therefore the world, you haven't done yourself any harm in the marketplace either. I'm not usually big on bragging, but graduating from Evans, that's a braggable accomplishment. Go ahead. Have I said congratulations yet? Bragging notwithstanding, humility is also on the agenda today. The awesomeness of this moment compels it. And with humility comes gratitude. Allow me to express some. Thank you to the faculty and staff at the Evans School. Their hard work and dedication and partnership with you helped you earn lifetime bragging rights. You should give them a hand. Thank you to whatever support network stood with you. Family, parents, children, siblings, classmates, co-workers, whatever. You are also here because of them, and you should give them a hand as well. Were they all able to be invited, I am confident they would have filled this entire arena. Finally, my biggest thank you goes to you. Thank you for choosing Evans. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for the conscious choice for public service and for connecting to the virtue of being a part of something bigger than yourselves. Whatever path your life takes, I know you are here because you want to help make things better. The recent Harvard Youth Survey, ages 18 to 29, looks like we've got some over the age of 29 out here. Yeah, you. But it revealed that fully 50% of that demographic group do not believe they can make a difference with their government. Thank you for believing in your agency very much. And I know you do. Miles, where are you? Yeah, I ran into Miles last weekend out in the community making a difference. And let's face it head on. The list of things on the to-do list of things to make better, it isn't real short. So take your pick. By the way, not a complete list. Affordable and accessible health care, social justice and racism, economic justice and inequality, climate change, housing. That last one is kind of a favorite of mine. The simple truth is we have a chronic and acute shortage of houses. And the result? Too many unhoused people. too much financial stress on households for which the rent's too damned high, and home ownership falling farther and farther out of reach. Probably no surprise to any of you that the average age of a first-time home buyer 30 years ago was 28. Last year it was 40. That's kind of inevitable when you stop building starter homes, including condos. A few short years ago, starter homes were 40% of all new construction. Last year, 7%. Truth is, people still very much want to own their own home of some kind, but it is becoming increasingly less possible. So what's the point? Your help is needed in housing and in all of these other areas that we have talked about. Because here's the deal. These things don't fix themselves, as Dean Sanford suggested. Democracy does not run on autopilot or self-renew. And that's why I'm so grateful to you. You didn't just show up with a desire to make things better. You showed up and learned how to make things work so that you can actually make them better. Hard truth now, the desire isn't enough, ever. Take housing. King County Regional Homelessness Authority, anyone? Takes more than desire. I'm also grateful to the Evans School for its approach to problem solving and collaboration. I know that this is a school that truly understands not just the worthiness, but the utility of listening. And by the way, when did we lose sight of that in our civic culture? The importance of truly listening to one another despite our disagreements. I know that the ethos of the Evans School is just that. I know that because it is a partner in the Project for Civic Health, along with the Henry M. Jackson Foundation and the Ruckelshaus Center in our office. We are guided by, in the project, and advocate 3 pretty basic ideas about how to participate in democracy, which is to say, how to make things work to make things better. And they are: engage respectfully. Kind of ancient wisdom, right? Virtually every culture in the world has some variation on treat other people the way you would like to be treated. 2, seek common ground. I am painfully aware and familiar with the current point of view that compromise is some kind of secret 4-letter word. I hear way too often in my life, "Are you kidding me? You don't bring a spork to a knife fight." In a diverse society, which we wonderfully are, that frankly is a recipe for an endless cage fight. You know, kind of like we have today, where nothing gets done. I know of no human institution in which 2 or more people are involved that doesn't require compromise. None. And daily, I might add. The classroom, as you no doubt have experienced, or the workplace, or marriages. My wife, Paula, in the bright red, just so that you know which one she is, thank you, is with me here today. We recently celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. that was all for you, Paula. And I know how we got here. Paula is a retired middle school principal, and I'm often a child. She knows how to handle me. But more importantly, we have compromised daily. Why would our politics be any different? And third, disagree constructively. Look, I'm not naive. Compromise isn't always possible. But the best way to preserve the opportunity to compromise later on another issue is to avoid calling your opponent on today's issue names. Ad hominem has no place in the public square. We are about to install a statue of the great Indian leader Billy Frank Jr. in National Statuary Hall in Washington, D.C. Each state gets 2. Yes, that's worth applauding. Billy passed away 12 years ago. He was a dear friend, and he was a great man. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, our nation's highest civilian award. In his youth, Billy was arrested 59 times and repeatedly beaten for protesting on behalf of his Indian treaty fishing rights. But the federal courts kept ruling in favor of Indian country. So afterwards, Billy became the head of something called the Northwest Indian Fisheries Commission, where he regularly negotiated fish harvest levels and allocations, hundreds and hundreds of times. And the greatest thing I ever heard said about my friend Billy was that he never once got up from a negotiation session, no matter how difficult, win, lose, or draw, when he could not reach across the table and shake hands. Engage respectfully, seek common ground, disagree constructively. I fear I've kind of wandered into the perilous waters of being too didactic. Please accept my apologies. Perhaps I have, I hope only momentarily, forgotten the wisdom of Benjamin Franklin. In September of 1787, when he was 81 years old, he delivered the closing argument for adoption of the proposed U.S. Constitution, which was not a given. His was essentially an appeal for both unity and the principle of compromise, lest, he said, the republic would never have been founded. Now, I don't frankly think that Mr. Franklin was particularly modest personally, and yet he opened his remarks at the close of that convention by saying, and I quote, "It is therefore that the older I grow, the more apt I am to doubt my own judgment and to pay more respect to the judgment of others. I look forward to respecting your judgment as you go about making things better." Thank you for your kind attention.
Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, and congratulations on reaching this incredible milestone. My name is Ellie Terry. I completed my PhD this past December and now work as an applied policy researcher and labor economist. It is an honor to stand before you today representing the graduating PhD students of the Evans School. So as I reflected on my time at Evans, I found myself thinking about a topic I studied during my PhD, which was identity. Who we identify as shapes our motivations, our aspirations, and what we choose to study. But identity is not only an individual attribute, nor is it fixed at birth. It is shaped by the communities we belong to and the people around us, and it evolves over time. Looking back, I realized that Evans did more than teach us about public policy and public administration. It helped shape our identities. The people in this room arrived with different backgrounds, experiences, and goals, but Evans brought together a community of like-minded people and centered our education around a common set of values: equity, courage, and service. Over time, those values became a more central part of our identities. They shaped our conversations in the classroom, our individual research, and ultimately our understanding of the world and our place in it. And when I look around this room, I see the values reflected in the people here. I see people committed to equity, who care deeply about those who have too often been left behind. I see people with the courage to confront difficult problems and to lead with both evidence and empathy. And I see people driven by service, who believe their talent should be used to improve the lives of others. And that is one of the things I admire most about this community. There is a powerful drive in this room to do good in the world. And I'd like to offer one additional reflection to my fellow PhD students, Catherine, Will, and Reed. Many of us began this journey because of the questions we wanted to answer, the research we wanted to conduct, or the careers we hoped to build. But after graduating and beginning a new career, I came to realize something. A PhD is incredibly valuable not only to the person who earns it, but to society at large. So over the past several years, we have been trained to think critically, to evaluate evidence, and wrestle with complexity. But we've also learned how institution shapes people's lives, who benefits from them, who is left out, and how they can be improved. And we need people with these skills to push society forward. And that realization has led me to an important lesson I've taken from this journey, and that's that a PhD is not something you do for yourself, it is something you share with the world. And in many ways, that realization is simply another way of expressing Evans' core value of service. So whether your tools are research, management, policy analysis, advocacy, organizing, budgeting, leadership, or something else, the last page is gone, but that's okay. Just the ending remark is, be the change you want to see in the world.
Good afternoon to the Evans School community, faculty, staff, families, and fellow graduates. My name is Hannah Beasley, and I'm honored to speak on behalf of the very first class to earn a Bachelor's of Arts in Public Service and Policy at the University of Washington. In the next few minutes, I want to share how I found my way to this major, what it meant to be a part of the inaugural cohort, and what we carry with us as we begin our journeys in public service. When I arrived at UW, I was set on studying mathematics. I loved the logic, the creativity, and the satisfaction of finding a solution. I spent long days working through differential equations and complex analysis, and the Evans School was nowhere on my radar. Then, in fall 2024, I took a course in mathematical optimization. One project involved designing bus routes to maximize commuter access. Suddenly, math felt more alive than ever. But as I went deeper into the major, I realized that something was missing. What excited me most wasn't the abstract problem solving. It was using those tools to improve real people's lives. So, I signed up for an Intro to Public Policy course, and everything clicked. Policy became the bridge between the analytical tools that I loved and the real public impact I wanted to see in public service. That decision brought me to the Evans School and to a cohort that shaped my experience in ways I never expected. As a class of 8, we had the rare experience of truly learning from each other. Each of us brought a different lens to public service, and those perspectives became a part of how we think. All of us joined this major while deep in another field of study, and that mix of disciplines made our conversations richer, sharper, and more dynamic. Denali grounded our conversation in equity. Ava showed us what feminist leadership looks like. Audrey pushed us towards environmental stewardship. Mario advocated for educational opportunity. Devin challenged us to think critically through an economic lens. Carson connected policies to the realities of small businesses. And Ishal modeled transparency and integrity, reminding us that honesty is the foundation of meaningful public service. Together, we became more than a cohort. We became a team shaped by each other's strengths and values. When I asked my classmates what they took away from our time with the Evans School faculty, 3 themes came up again and again. First, our professors taught us to treat equity as the starting point of every policy conversation. They pushed us to ask who is impacted, who is overlooked, how is power distributed. They reminded us that policy is never neutral and that fairness must be at the center of how we design, evaluate, and implement it. Second, they taught us to ground our work in evidence. Good intentions aren't enough without data showing what works. Across our classes, we learned to interpret research, question assumptions, and communicate evidence-informed recommendations that could stand up in real policy environments. Third, our professors taught us that public service is fundamentally collaborative. They reminded us that no policy is crafted or implemented alone, and that humility is essential when working with communities, stakeholders, and people whose lived experiences differ from our own. They reminded us that leadership in public service means listening first and acting only after we understand the people we hope to serve. These lessons, equity, evidence, and collaboration, are the values we carry with us as we take our next steps into public service. To the faculty and staff, thank you for guiding us through a brand new program with generosity, patience, and high expectations. Your belief in us made this milestone possible. To our families, friends, and loved ones, thank you for the encouragement and support. We share this accomplishment with you. And to my classmates, all 7 of you, thank you for making this journey unforgettable. Congratulations, class of 2026.
Hello, everyone. This is a very scary spot to be standing. I'll just throw that out there, you know. I brought a copy of my speech and backup in case a page was missing, but we'll see. I just recently graduated from the EMPA program, my cohort there. And I've shared a little bit about our experience and a takeaway message from that. And that is that when we first started our program, we had an assignment in Canvas, and we were asked to share who we were, why, where we came from, and what motivated us to enter the program. At the time, I thought it was just an initial icebreaker of assignment, but very quickly I realized it was the starting of us sharing our stories. In the first week of our program, we're all together in class, there were many conversations about privilege, power, patriarchy, race, equity, and the way systems and labels shape people's lives. I had expected and hoped for these conversations to happen. Many of them were uncomfortable to go through, but it was a part of the growing process for all of us to recognize that we all were there to learn about bias and how the systems work to bring about the results we see every single day. And if I'm honest, it was pretty uncomfortable for me from time to time, but I had a great group of people around me. After several hours of this discussion in the middle of the week, during break, one of the students came up to me who I had not met, didn't know, approached me. She didn't ask what my views were. She didn't want to share with me her views. She simply asked me, "Are you okay?" It was a small moment, a simple question, but it stayed with me. Because in that moment, Jane reminded me of something very important. Before we are labels, we are people. Before we are categories, we are stories. Before we are assumptions, we are human beings. Over the next 2 years, that lesson repeated itself over and over again as we all told our stories. Jane taught us that home can span continents and still be defined by family. Shauna reminded us that leadership begins by seeing, hearing, and caring for those without a voice. Ashton challenged us to create opportunity for communities furthest from opportunity. Atsu showed us that innovation and ancient wisdom can exist side by side. Aja carried generations of women committed to empowerment and equity. Armai built community wherever he found need. Michael reminded us the legacy lives through service of others. Francis taught us the importance of public trust and mentorship. Sheila showed us what happens when someone refuses to give up on themselves. Sarah works every day to build communities for others, not just to survive, but to thrive. David taught us the value of listening to people, taking their stories and sharing them and developing community. Evan reminded us that housing is not an infrastructure, it's dignity. Chad showed us the courage needed to make changes in a system steeped with tradition, making the fire service more equitable. And Tricia challenged us to embrace complexity and pursue justice with joy. And each of them have changed me. Humans always use labels. We label nations, professions, races, religions, political parties, neighborhoods, identities. Sometimes labels help us find belonging. Labels can help us find voice, and they can help us be advocates for ourselves and our communities. But sometimes labels prevent us from seeing one another. For me, this is personal. As you look at me, you notice I'm a little bit older than the people in my cohort. I stand out a little bit. I may actually represent the face of someone that is the face of the male patriarchy. But those labels are an incomplete story of who I am. That label doesn't tell you that I grew up in a single-wide trailer in eastern Washington. It doesn't tell you that in the 90s I held the hands of dying men who were suffering from AIDS, whose families and communities had abandoned them. It doesn't tell you the story of the number of people that taught me about compassion, love, and kindness, and how I live that every day in my profession. What I discovered in this cohort is that every single one of us is carrying a story larger than the labels attached to us. We learn that home can be Seattle, Senegal, Ethiopia, Kobe, Nicaragua, or anywhere where the people we love happen to be. We learn that leadership can look like housing, nursing, public safety, economic development, advocacy, and most importantly, compassion. One of my greatest mentors, Dr. Michael K. Kopis, when he was offered a prestigious position at Harborview, He said, I'll do it on one condition. I want all of my patients to be the people nobody else wants to take care of. I want to take care of those who are experiencing homelessness, alcoholism, chronic illness, the people nobody else wanted. I saw him show up to work at 4 in the morning at Harborview in the ER to make sure patients had warm blankets on, that their feet were covered. And no job was too small as he picked up cigarette butts in front of the emergency department. And one of his most sage pieces of advice, he said, remember, Eric, we treat disease, but we care for patients. Public administration is no different. We manage systems, but we care for people. We write policy, but we care for people. We build programs, but we care for people. Labels matter. Identity matters. History matters. Stories matter. The answer is not to erase our differences. The answer is not to pretend identity does not matter. The answer is to become curious enough to hear the rest of the story. Maya Angelou wrote, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. Well, over the last 2 years, we told our stories, we listened, we learned, and we changed. We do not become stronger despite our differences, we become stronger because of them. And perhaps most importantly, we learn that we're not here to be loved, comforted, or understood. We are here to love, comfort, and be understanding. When we arrived, we were asked, who are you? Today I say to all of you, I want to ask, who have you become, and what are you going to do next? I want to thank my instructors, professors, everybody that brought us together and allowed me to grow, and I want everybody to go forth and be the change in the world. It's been a great privilege to get to know all of you. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Eric, that was such a great speech, and that's going to be a hard one to follow up. Thank you all so much for this honor to speak on behalf of our cohort. My name is Riley Telemontes, and I am a graduate from the Evans School getting a master's in public administration. 2 years ago, in September of 2024, I started my journey through graduate school, and it's been one of the most mentally challenging experiences of my life so far. However, it's also been the most rewarding. When I applied to graduate school in the winter of 2023, I sort of knew my path. I knew that I wanted to work in the public sector. I wanted to be of service to my community, and I wanted to unite people across political affiliations through evidence-based solutions and shared human values. But what job really does that? What careers are out there that match what I'm looking for? I knew that I wanted to learn more, and I knew that more was out there. So I applied to graduate school, I got in, I packed up my life in Central Oregon, and I took a leap of faith and moved to Seattle, Washington, which is the biggest city I've ever lived in. Before the first day of classes, the Evans School hosts something for the graduate cohort called Math Camp. It's basically where we all spend a couple of days remembering how to do algebra to prepare us for our econ and statistics courses. And I remember sitting in a room at the university library with nearly 50-ish people I've never met before, but all of us eager to learn and to get to know one another. After the first day, one of our classmates, Cassandra, started passing her phone around and asking people for their phone numbers so we can organize a get-together. And we all met at Ravenna Brewing near the university, and that evening, I got to meet most of you truly for the first time. When brainstorming what I wanted to say to all of you this afternoon, I thought about talking about like the big things, our role as public administrators during these times where the public sector is changing and being challenged, the importance of values and discretion as public administrators, the toolkit of skills we've gotten at Evans. But what really had the most impact on me during my time here is all of you. I got to learn from you and your shared experiences. I got to be your friend and enjoy late nights in Perrington, or perhaps more fun like out in the town in Seattle. Most importantly, I got to solve Cascadia's budget crisis with you. I got to sit in a room with all of you for our policy analysis course, in a room that was so not conducive to teaching like literally the entire cohort. There's pillars in the classroom. Dr. Grant Bloom, who will come and speak here in a second, is like running around with a microphone. And sometimes you heard people talking in the mic, but not like knowing who it is, even after it's like week 5. It was kind of a mess, but a great class because we were all there learning together. Working and learning with you all has been an incredible privilege and has had an immense impact on me in the last 2 years. So I want to say thank you for being so patient, kind, welcoming, and thoughtful to your classmates. Thank you for asking hard questions and challenging systems we will one day work in. Thank you for changing your mind when presented with new information. And really just thank you for being one of a kind. I'm really excited to see what lies ahead for each and every one of you. As I said before, I didn't know what my career was going to look like 2 years ago. But with the help of this cohort, I know that in public service, this is where I belong. And I have the tools and skills that make me feel confident in whatever role I set out to do. And I hope you all feel the same way. And if there is ever a moment in these next few months as you search for roles in a really challenging job market, know that you belong and you are capable. You have done the work and you're ready to do more. So stay confident and resilient. I hope you all have taken the time and space to reflect on your experiences here as I have in the last couple of weeks. I like to say to people, you know, it's not corny or silly to reflect. Looking back on how we've changed and thinking forward for who we want to be is a natural part of being human. So, I will leave you with the wise words of someone who famously got to play hooky, but has a great saying about reflecting on life and the moment that you're in. So in the wise words of Mr. Ferris Bueller, life moves pretty fast, and if you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it. Thank you all so much. Congratulations, and go Dogs!
Thank you, Ellie, Hannah, Eric, and Riley, for your thoughtful remarks on behalf of your fellow graduates. My name is Erica Barnhart. I'm the faculty director for our EMPA program. I serve as instructional lead for the student consulting labs, and I'm also an associate teaching professor. It is in those capacities and on behalf of my fellow faculty members that I get to present awards to graduates who excelled at the Evans School, both academically and in leadership. When I read the awardee name or names for team-based awards, I'll ask the recipients to stand. Graduates can pick up their awards afterwards from the Salty staff at the accessibility table on the concourse. I will begin with the EMPA awards. As part of their final course in the EMPA program, students develop a capstone portfolio that demonstrates their leadership development and application of program content within their professional experience. This year, the EMPA Capstone Award goes to 2 graduates, Chad Erskine and Sheila Gray. Chad, Poe would be proud. Sheila, thank you for showing us what it looks like to keep betting on yourself. You did it. Our next award is the Exceptional EMPA Student Award. The recipient of this honor is selected by EMPA faculty. The award goes to a student who exhibits outstanding leadership, dedication to the Evans School and their cohort, and overall academic achievement in the program. This year's outstanding Exceptional EMPA student goes to Sarah Cho. For our MPA graduates, our Capstone Awards recognize graduates whose final capstone project was found to be exceptional. exemplifying clear problem definition, which is harder than it sounds, excellent methodology, the incorporation of diverse perspectives, and recommendations for feasible and innovative solutions to the challenges that their clients were facing. First, I would like to thank the faculty who supervised the capstone projects this year. Ann Bostrom, Sarah Levin, Matt Stewart, Craig Thomas, and Kevin Warner. I would also like to thank the MPA Award Committee, Associate Dean for Research, David Suarez, Associate Dean for Teaching and Learning, Grant Bloom, and Assistant Dean for Students and Learning Innovation, Becky Coriel. Now for the 5 awards. Again, please stand when I call your name. The Environmental Policy and Management Research Prize is a tie and goes to Quito Davidson Kuhnhart, Sophie Houston, Elena Majot, and Jennifer Monet. For their project, Beyond Compliance, Evaluating and Enhancing the Usefulness of Hazard Mitigation Plans in Coastal Washington, supervised by Ann Bostrom. The second team to receive this prize is comprised of Isabella Castro, Aaliyah Hammond, and Chris Fry. For their project, I gotta say, I like this crowd. I mean, this is a lot of enthusiasm. We don't always have that. For their project, Protecting In-Stream Flows, Modernizing Washington's Water Law Framework, supervised by Kevin Werner. The Financial Management and Budgeting Research Prize goes to Chris Comas, Claire Zhuang, Kathleen Zhu, and Patanon Malai. For their project, titled Model Tribal Emergency Management Code, supervised by Matt Stewart. The Nonprofit Management Research Prize goes to Nathan Lutzis, Ryan Schuman, and Hope Thompson. For their project, The Rise and Fall of Nonprofit Civic Reform, Lessons from the Municipal League of King County, supervised by Sarah Levin. The Social Policy Research Prize goes to Alden Robert, Kristen Vetter, Maddie Lau-Praser, and Yao Baotin. For their project, Model Tribal Emergency Management Code, supervised by Ann Bostrom. The Policy and Governance Research Prize goes to Karen Lynn, Jacob Montes, Naomi Nasra, and Natalie Singleton. For their project, Municipal Campus and Community Cohesion, City of Duval, Building What Matters, supervised by Craig Thomas. Congratulations to all of the prize winners and to the entire graduating class.
Good afternoon. I'm Professor Heather Hill. I am a program director for the PhD program at the Evans School, and it is my honor to commence the presentation of the class of 2026 graduates. We will begin today by presenting our PhD in Public Policy and Management graduates. The faculty chair of each student's dissertation will present the graduate to you.
Good afternoon. I'm Professor Mary Kay Gugerty, and I had the honor of serving as the chair, dissertation chair for Catherine Chang. The other committee members included Professors David Suarez, Craig Thomas, and Patricia Moy. Catherine's dissertation is entitled Building Local Government Capacity for Community Climate Engagement. Her dissertation examines how local governments across the U.S. build capacity for community engagement around extreme heat events, which has important implications for how we adapt in equitable ways to climate change. The dissertation draws on a great deal of original data, including in-depth interviews and a large-scale survey of local government officials. Her dissertation illustrates how public officials navigate engagement on the ground, how they develop the attitudes and skills that are necessary for public engagement, and how this form of public engagement and collaboration improves heat policies that are developed by state and local governments. In addition to her own research, Catherine has been a valued collaborator on a number of research projects here at the Evans School, including research on collaborative ecosystem partnerships in Puget Sound, collaboration platforms among transnational NGOs, and how community assemblies can serve as inclusive models for co-governance. In these projects, her collaborators have appreciated her ability to think both theoretically and practically, as well as her extraordinary and dynamic thinking on messy policy and management issues. Congratulations, Catherine.
Hi, I am Professor Karen Martin, and I had the pleasure of serving as the chair of Will von Geldern's dissertation committee, along with Drs. Rachel Feil, Crystal Hall, and Jenny Romick. Will's dissertation, From Policy to Practice, Administrative Burden and Human-Centered Design and Tenant Right to Counsel Programs, ask an important question about a major domain of policy. Why are there so many default judgments in eviction cases, even though Washington has a right to counsel law that provides access to legal representation? To understand default judgments, which occur when a person in an eviction case fails to show up or respond to a summons to appear in court, we'll use natural language processing to quantitatively analyze nearly 200,000 eviction cases, case documents in over 8,000 eviction cases, semi-structured interviews with tenants to understand their experiences, and a randomized controlled trial to test an intervention designed to reduce default judgments. His research has generated novel evidence about the learning, compliance, and psychological costs of participating in the civil legal system, and explores how public policy can help improve outcomes for people facing eviction. Will has recently accepted a position as research director at Stanford University's Rhodey Center, where he will be leading research on how to make civil justice more equitable, accessible, and transparent. Congratulations, Will.
Good afternoon. I'm Professor Allison Cullen, and I have the pleasure of serving as the chair of Reed Humphrey's dissertation committee. Reed's dissertation is entitled Measurement to Mitigation, Wildfire Hazard, Social Vulnerability, and Federal Funding in the Wildland-Urban Interface. The committee also includes Professors Corey Struthers, Crystal Colden, and Francesca Santana. In this work, Reed explored the characteristics of communities at elevated risk of wildfire impacts, associated both with the nature and intensity of the wildfire hazard that they faced, and also their own specific vulnerability. Through statistical analysis, Reed combined granular data on wildfire hazard and social vulnerability with a complete repository of records from the Community Wildfire Defense Grant Program. This is the largest federal investment in community-scale wildfire mitigation, with a goal of dispersing $1 billion between 2022 and 2026. He distilled the factors by which communities are prioritized for planning and implementation support among the more than 1,400 that applied for grants. Reed found that while wildfire hazard is predictive of receiving federal support, in order to adequately account for social vulnerability moving forward, it will be essential to explicitly operationalize this factor in both wildfire risk mitigation efforts and in disaster management overall. Reed has also served as a valued member of a National Science Foundation research team focused on managing risk of simultaneous megafires. He worked very closely with stakeholder practitioner partners in regional and federal operations, helping to identify and fill information gaps that were critical to their decision-making for risk management. Before wrapping up, I would like to note that many of the graduating students in attendance today have benefited from Reed's teaching of quantitative methods and tools, both in math camp that you heard about earlier, and as a teaching assistant in the MPA program. We all thank you, Reed. And in the coming months, Reed will continue his research here at University of Washington. Please join me in celebrating Reed.
And last but not least, as I already mentioned, I'm Professor Heather Hill, and I had the pleasure of serving as the chair of Ellie Terry's dissertation committee. You've already gotten to hear from Ellie today. Let me tell you about her research. Her dissertation was titled, "Can I Afford College? How Students' Perceived Ability to Pay Shapes Post-Secondary Outcomes and the Role of Policy." In addition to me, her committee included Drs. Isabel Cohen and Bill Zumeta. In 3 studies, Ellie explored important questions related to the affordability of a college education. She conducted an implementation evaluation in partnership with an innovative new college savings program in California. She analyzed the impact of policies mandating high school students complete FAFSA forms for financial aid awards and college enrollment. And she used survey data collected from young adults to better understand how family resources and perceived affordability of college affect college-going decisions. Ellie is now working, as she mentioned, as an economist in the California Employment Development Department, where she conducts research on the forces affecting California's labor market. Please join me in congratulating Ellie.
Hello, my name is Grant Bloom. I'm the Associate Dean for Teaching and Learning here at the Evans School. In a few minutes, you're going to meet the first undergraduates to complete a Bachelor of Arts in Public Service and Policy from the Evans School. Each of these students has a story about what brought them to the Evans School and what inspired them to pursue a Public Service and Policy degree. But the story of the major itself goes back nearly 3 decades. Faculty at the Evans School have been considering an undergraduate major for a long time, a very long time. What's truly special about the stars aligning and the launch of our undergraduate major is that in hindsight, I truly believe that this program launched at just the moment when we needed it the most. Our faculty approved our undergraduate curriculum in January of 2024, and I'm proud to say by a unanimous vote. Fast forward to this moment, and we've lived a lot of life in the public sphere between now and January of 2024, haven't we? We have 8 outstanding undergraduates to walk across this stage, more than 90 students declared as majors, and hundreds of undergraduates at the University of Washington enrolled in our public policy courses. So today, to our undergraduate students, I want to say not only congratulations, but thank you. You bring an energy and a curiosity and an optimism to the Evans School that makes our school and our community a better place. We are lucky to have you at the school, and I know I speak for everyone on this stage when I say we cannot wait to see where you go from here. It's now my pleasure to turn to my colleague and friend, undergraduate program director, Professor Rachel Feil, who will present our graduating undergraduates.
Good afternoon. It is my honor to read the names of our first undergraduate majors. Hannah Beasley. Denali Rojas Estrada. Ishal Shah. Ava Robertson. Mario Santana Trujillo. Audrey Flynn. Devin Larson Nigam. Carson Guy.
I now have the honor of welcoming to the stage the 2026 EMPA graduates. Eric Tim. Ashton Allison. Evan Mack. David Woolbrecht. Aja Fatumata Sako. Sheila McMahon. Shauna McMahon, sorry. Atsunobu Kasagi. Trisha Jenkins. Chad Erskine. Jane Bove. Francis Cho. Sarah Cho. Michael Martinez.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Kay Gugerty, and I have the honor, together with Professor David Layton, of presenting you with the MPA class of 2026.
That's going to happen in a second.
Oh.
Yeah, because we had a little delay with the photo taken. We still have some EMPA students to graduate.
Sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
team. Sorry. Armai Ashte and crew. And last but not least, Sheila Gray.
Apologies. Now we are ready to present the MPA class of 2026. Welcome. Riley Talamantes. Elena Medio. Alden Roberts. Audrey Immel. Ariel Jackson. Geeta Taheri. Aaron McCarthy Keeler. Eva Anderson. David Applin. Emilio Castaneda.
Cassandra Marie. B. Wagner Wilkins. Dana Coppernall Houston. Janae Page. Kaylin Gomez. Maggie Lear. Gabrielle Cotton. Meredith Davis. Peter Wynn. Maria Belen Rosa Saldana. Karen Lynn. Shreya Lakshmi Narayan. Ihan Zhuang. Dalika Ung. Xin Tong Feng. Jingqi Zhang.
Connor Shoup. Isabel Parkin. Hunter Keener. Zachary Beisch. Stephen Dada. Kristen Vetter. Madeline Lauprocert. Jacob Montes. Patonin Malai. Isabella Castro. Wyatt Moore. Tabitha Shepard. Erica Granados. Amelia Schwabi. Catherine Zhou. Undeep Sundhu.
Michael Foley. Stephen Laysmith. David Sunny Song. Lucas Miraz. Ahmed Albusa Idi. Sokchan Won. Marilyn Schlanger. Aaliyah Hammond. Ann Rizvi. Natalie Singleton. Christopher Frey. Rustine Faravar. Sonia Hitchcock.
I forgot to count, so I'm just randomly doing it. Annika Peterson. Andrew Metz. Naomi Nasra. Yared Yemer. Jennifer Monet. Zikang Fang. Christopher Comas. Kito Davison Kunhart. Sebastian Raymond. Ya Frimpoma Boatin. Nasteo Mohammed. Kelly Harwood. Shinyu Ella Lee. Miles Parker. Lisa Kopersky.
Yujin Yang. Chung Xiao Liang. Kathleen Zhu. Hope Thompson. Nathan Lutzis. Ryan Schumann. Zichi Shu.
I'm very grateful to be shaking all those hands and giving on those hugs on behalf of the faculty of the Evans School. It's very happy to present to you the class of 2026.